Hare Krishna. Yeah, so today, fourth chapter, we are going to start Jnana Yoga. So before we start our journey and continue that, let's start with Mangalacharanam. Hare Krishna, just 1 second. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yeta Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Svapadatikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopeshu Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpadarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vatsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna. So we will now go to the fourth chapter, right? Hare Krishna. So today, what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about what is called the Jnana Yoga. So Jnana means knowledge, right? So the entire Bhagavad Gita is Jnana, but it's basically a combination of everything. As I said, Bhakti is what is the ultimate destination, and Jnana is a part of Bhakti, right? So we don't have to separately learn Jnana, but let's see what is there in this chapter. And every chapter, evolves with a particular question. So let's see what Krishna has in store and what Arjuna is there for questioning, right? Arjuna is always in the mood of questioning. So let's see what Arjuna is actually talking about. Hare Krishna. Before that, let's have a quick recap of chapter 3. Why did chapter 3 evolve in the first place? Because in chapter 2, Krishna was actually telling you, right? So what was he telling? So let's start with the fact that Krishna was completely confused. Krishna was actually trying to solve the confusion of Arjuna, but Arjuna was thoroughly, clear that he will not fight, right? So he was trying to see every option and every loophole to go and land up in a situation where he will not fight. So what happened when Krishna was talking about Buddhi Yoga, which actually means Bhakti Yoga, but Arjuna misunderstood that as, Buddhi Yoga means intelligence, and intelligence means he has to retire. Because according to him, war is a fruitive activity. Yesterday, we had one of our devotees also asking, right? What is the level? Is there a limit for enjoyment? Is there, a particular line, right? Same way, Arjuna also is very confused, like at the moment, and he's asking, is there the only limit is, giving up, right? So since war is beneficial and he is going to get the benefits. But Krishna conscience is not about whether you get the benefit or not. You will definitely get the benefit because Krishna is what you're trying to please. Let me just give you a small example. When you want to serve, the king, you will also enjoy the luxury of the palace and a lot of other things, right? Same way, when you want to serve Krishna, the rest of the things are all byproducts. So they all come in place. So eventually, what is Krishna telling Arjuna? See, this is not about renunciation or action. We are telling you to renunciate not the action, but to renunciate the fruits of the action, which means you will fight, but you don't worry about the results, right? The results are to be surrendered to me. So that is what he is saying. And next he talk about how do you do that? Via Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? And yes, the starting of Jnana started then. And then he's elevated from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. So what is Karma Kanda? Motivating someone with a particular food. Example, when you're in LKG, everybody would have told, I'll give you a lollipop. Okay, so I'm going to give you a lollipop and you're going to go to school. Is that what is going to happen till in your 12th standard? No, right? You don't even worry about who's going to talk to you. You immediately get up and go, right? So that is exactly the pitch which you will adapt as you become bigger. So that is exactly the pitch which you are following as well. So that is what he is talking about. So then after this, what happens? So the next move is about what can you do at that stage? And in fact, ironically, someone told, oh my God, in 12th standard, my limit and wish will become higher. I will demand a car. But that's on a, on a, ironical part. But the actual sense you all know, right? So you will, any which case, not talk about that. You will be self-motivated, which is the language we use. We're supposed to be. So now what happens in Karma Kanda? Finally, in Karma Kanda, we will get elevated. That's a starting, right? Below that is the animal propensity. We already saw, we talk about eating, sleeping, meeting. That's all we'll do. But, your focus will move to Karma Yoga, which means that you will follow a lot of, duty. And by focusing on your duty, you get purified and therefore you'll automatically reach Krishna. How? We will see that in chapter 4 in detail. And then we also saw Janaka Maharaj, who will be leading by an example. And Krishna himself, was leading by an example. So that is what is the most important shloka here. Yad yad acharati shreshas tat tat evetano juna. So what is it he is saying? That the whole world will follow the footsteps of you. And therefore, if you renunciate, maybe you're successful. But then what will happen is the followers may not be successful and they will fail. Because of which what will happen? You will be setting a wrong example. So that he is saying. So finally, he is telling that in spite of understanding all this, what is the problem? What is forcing me to do a lot of things, right? This is a very commonly asked question. I don't want to do, but still I'm forced. Why? Because he says lust. Lust is something which starts off sitting in the senses, then the mind and the intelligence. And by sitting in these places, it is giving us a royal road to hell. So this is what they are talking about in chapter 3. So with all this, what happens to chapter 4? Now Krishna continues by giving transcendental knowledge. About whom? About himself. Why? You need to know a person to love a person, right? Actually, really speaking, you don't have to know, but then you will have to know, you will get to know more about the person whom we love. So I will tell that. So here the concept is not about understanding Krishna, but it is about we wanting to know more about him, more because of the fact like someone whom we love, we like to really understand every bit of that person to see how we can actually fit in, right? So Krishna himself is giving the transcendental knowledge. Why is Krishna giving that knowledge and he is not appointing anyone? Because Krishna is the only one who knows completely about himself and nobody else can really understand his opulences to tell about him. So he starts off from 4.1 to 10. And what does he tell? It talks about the parampara concept also, which we will see. So it is evam parampara praptam. And next one is between 4.11 to 15, Krishna as the goal of all paths and the creator of Varnashra system. So what is Varnashrama? We are going to see. Yayate mam prapadyante. So that we will see. So what is he telling? He is telling that all roads don't reach to one, but the Varnashrama system has been created by Krishna. Therefore, you can reach your destination. The next one, what does he say is Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga between 4.16 to 24, he says Karmano he api bodhavyam. So what does Karma Yoga mean? Karma Yoga actually means that we already read a lot of this in the second chapter also, where yoga means thinking of God. So doing work without expecting the fruits. Basically, the fruits you surrender on to Krishna. Then 4.25 to 33, you're talking about sacrifices leading to transcendental knowledge. Here again, as I said, sacrifice does not mean, a particular sacrifice in terms of we losing something, but sacrifice here denotes anything done for the satisfaction of Krishna. That's why it says Jnana Yajna Parantapa. So of all the sacrifices, which is the biggest or the best is what is going to come. And finally, we will be doing what's called the summary of transcendental knowledge, which is between 34 to 42. Tadvidi Pranipatena, which means they are going to talk about following a guru. So let's see what is he trying to tell, right? So which is the biggest book for transcendental knowledge, right? We all know, right? So it's Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita summarizes everything which is not there in the other holy books as well. This is my personal experience because I've read, and where I could not find answers there, I could find answers here. Hare Krishna. So now, for this blue part, right, the English part, do we have anyone in the audience who would like to read? Do we have anyone who would like to read? So you can raise your hand. So the blue part alone, I will, when I tell Hare Krishna, you all can start. So would anybody like to read the blue part? Any one of you all can just raise your digital hand. And I'll keep starting, and you all can raise your hand in between. Yeah. Otherwise, Nirupama, if it's okay, you can also read. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to start. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So this is talking about the history of, Bhagavad Gita. Thank you, Sachin. So let me unmute your. I will make you a co-host so it's easier for you to unmute. Is that fine? Yeah. Hare Krishna. So he's talking about the history of Bhagavad Gita. So what is the speciality of Bhagavad Gita? Now, what Bhagavad Gita is, when was it spoken? So we all know Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years back. There's no rocket science, right? So let's hear from, from Krishna, what is he talking about, right? So we will start the history of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Bhuktavana Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manu Kave Bravi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
The blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to the Manu. The father of mankind, the Manu in turn instructed to Ikshvaku.
Ikshvaku. Thank you so much. Very nice. Just keep your mic a little away from, or the earphones a little away. Sure. Otherwise, it's perfect. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So what is he telling? Yeah, he is now starting some history which is unknown, right? Unknown to all of us, because this was first time when I read this. Oh my God, it was like all new. So he's telling, Krishna is telling, that's why it says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So he's telling, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga, right? To the sun god. Okay, now sun god, oh my God, where is this going, right? So sun god Vivasvan. Hare, we know only sun god's name is Surya Dev, right? Where is this Vivasvan? So which you all have to know is, sun god is a position. Like if I tell President of India or Prime Minister, does it mean Mr. Modi? Yes. Now we are talking about Prime Minister means Modi. But was it the same 5 years back, and will that be the same few years later? Yes, no. Yeah, thank you. No, right? So basically, what does it mean? Prime Minister is a post. It's a position. Same way, sun god is a position. And all this Brahma is a position. So therefore, it keeps changing as time comes. Hence, what happens is the sun god, Vivasvan, very clearly was whom the name of the sun god is Vivasvan, and Krishna spoke to him first. And Vivasvan instructed this to Manu, right? Manu is the father of mankind. You all would have been familiar, the English version, Adam and Eve, right? So, the Adam, that is the Manu version, actually. So many of them asked what is the equivalent. So just for that I said, but we use the word Manu only. So we'll go ahead. And in turn, Manu, in fact, instructed this to Ikshvaku, right? So this is like typically a four leaps, right? Krishna is telling the Vivasvan is instructing to Manu. The Manu is in turn instructing to Ikshvaku, right? So this is what it is. So this is what it is, right? So it's going to so many levels. So how did all this happen? See, can you see how Bhagavad Gita is moving? So beautifully it is moving, right? So who is Ikshvaku? Ikshvaku was the first king. So we will see a little about it too, right? So Hare Krishna. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu sakalena mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Hare Krishna.
This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But income of the time of succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost.
Okay, now this is one confusion. So if Krishna had already spoken so many years back, then why is he talking again 5,000 years ago? Again to Arjuna. So 5,000 years again he's telling for our sake. But why? When it was already spoken, right? So he says this particular supreme science, right? It's such a great science. It was through a disciplinic succession, right? So this was, from one person to another, like it followed a particular succession. But what happened during the course of time, all the chain itself got lost. Right, this is the biggest thing, right? So this is going on from 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally what happened at the fourth level, the chain broke, and therefore the science got lost somewhere, right? So because this got lost, so what happened is what we are going to see before we get into the next thing. So let's see how this parampara is establishing now. So now Krishna spoke to the, what do you mean by bona fide? So there are 4 levels Krishna currently are talking about, right? There is something called Brahma Sampradaya. It is very important for us to understand because we are actually following that Sampradaya. And through Brahma, Madhavacharya is the lead person. And through him, who are all coming. So basically from Brahma, that is Krishna told Brahma. From Brahma, it moved to Narada. From Narada, it went on. And even Madhavacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are all coming in this line of discipline succession. And Prabhupada is the Acharya who is also in that same line. So that is why you call the word Bhagavad Gita as it is. However, is it that only we should follow only our Sampradaya? No. You have 4 Sampradaya which are called bona fide one. Just to give an example, you get a certificate, right? So you get a certificate, let's say in college. So it has to be signed to a university, one. Or it can be deemed university, right? Which means the university has given approval. So let's assume that the university is Krishna. So what is deemed university? Deemed university is the right and the authority given by the university to various players or colleges which the university feels deemed fit, right? So same way, Krishna has informed 4 people whom he feels are perfect to bring this down. So who are the 4? We saw Brahma. The next one is Sri Lakshmi Sampradaya. Sri Lakshmi is through Ramanujacharya. Typically, you will notice the Andhra, Tirupati and all will come under this. Right, so the Bhagavad Gita taught by them is also accurate. The third is Rudra Sampradaya. So what is this? You know very well, Shiva. And who was the lead in this is Vishnu Swami. That was the greatest Acharya. And the 4th one is Kumara Sampradaya. Who are they? They are the 4 sons of Lord Brahma. And these 4 sons are very knowledgeable, very old, but they do not want to get into this complicated life. So they decided to live at the age of 5. They froze themselves at 5, and though they are many years old, they will always be children, so that they felt that it was easier at that time. So what is the story behind that? So he is Nimbarka Charya. So he is the one who takes care of that particular Sampradaya to the next level. Hare Krishna. So now, with all this, Arjuna has got to see, Arjuna is, imagine, you have to relate this, right? Look at the kind of questions Arjuna keeps asking and look at the answers Krishna keeps answering. Today we all ask 1% of these questions will be thrown out, right? Happens or not? For me, it happens. How many questions only you will ask? So college time, and after that, they used to call me, I'm one question queen. So, not a great creditable post, but that is how it used to be. You all also feel the same. Let me quickly check. Yeah, so that is what it is, right? So that's why. But how? You are my contemporary, right? So he is asking, Arjuna is asking, you are my contemporary, which means what? You are my age, right? If you are my age, then where is this question? Where is the possibility of you talking about, so many years back? And let's see how many years ago, but definitely it is not 5,000 years ago, right? So that much we understand at the first level. So he's telling you of my age, right? So if you're my age, what are you talking about history? So what is happening is Krishna is going to give answer for that also. So what is he trying to tell? So he is talking about few things, of which one you will know very well, Kali Yuga. What is Kali Yuga? The Yuga we are in, right? So Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years, right? So Kali Yuga, approximately about 5,000 years is over. Because when Krishna left, that is when Kali Yuga started. So Krishna left, the place 5,000 years ago, though he appeared in Dwarpa Yuga. So if you reduce 5,000 years from 4,32,000, you have 4,27,000 years, right? So for everyone who says in 2 years and 3 years, the earth will die and it will get lost. Yes, it's dying. That's a different story. But another 4,27,000 years is there in Kali Yuga, right? So now let's move on to the next, or rather the previous Yuga, when Krishna was appeared. So that is Dwarpa Yuga. So in Dwarpa Yuga, it will be double that of Kali Yuga. See, 4.32 into 2 is what? 8.64, right? Now Treta Yuga, what is Treta Yuga? Lord Rama appeared in that Yuga, right? Treta Yuga is a total of Dwarpa Yuga and Kali Yuga. Both put together is Treta Yuga. And what is Satya Yuga? Satya Yuga is Treta Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga and Kali Yuga. So all three put together will be Satya Yuga, right? So all these together, this four is called Divya Yuga, right? Why do you talk about Divya Yuga? You will get to understand. So now we spoke about Manu, right? So we are going there. So what are we actually trying to why am I talking so much? Because life of Brahma we are going to talk about. Why is life of Brahma important? Two factors. Just like how we die, Brahma also dies, right? So he is not permanent. But the difference is Brahma's life is 100 years. Let's assume that we are also 100 years. But Brahma's 100 years is different from ours, right? So that's what we are trying to calculate, right? This figure. So that clearly shows Brahma is not immortal and he will also die. So now what happens? This Divya Yugas, there are 71 such Divya Yugas. That is called Manvantara, right? One particular Manvantara is equal to 71 Divya Yugas. These Yugas keep repeating and 71 times, right? So this is one number. So how did you get 306 is because, you can add, 71 into, addition of all this is going to give you that number, right? So now we are going to Manu, right? We just had this story. What are we first calculating? We will calculate 1 day of Brahma. And why? Let me explain why subsequent to this, right? So 1 day of Brahma. So 24 hours in our language means it will be day, it will be night, and it will be that time between the dawn, right? So between day and night, right? So that is called the dawns. So that is basically is called Sandhya, right? In Sanskrit. So the day actually and the night put together and Sandhyas will be 1 day of Brahma. It's like basic number. So what does this amount to? It amounts to 14 Manvantras. We just saw 71 Divya Yugas, right? So 71 into 14, right? Plus the 15, the typical dawn, right? Is the duration of 1 day. So basically, just to explain, 1 day of Brahma is 4,32 billion years, right? And obviously the night will be the same length. So this is just 1 day time. It's not 124 hour, it's the day time, the duration of the day, right? And what is happening in this time? Where are we? So there is something called during 1 day of Brahma, right? There will be what is called partial devastation. What do you mean by partial devastation? Word devastation, you all know. So basically there are various lokas and we will, I will explain the lokas, after this. So what happens is these lokas get submerged in the water. Water means what? It just gets swallowed by Vishnu. Just understand this. So basically entire world except the top 3 lokas gets lost, right? And again, it comes back after a few weeks. Again, the whole cycle starts. So this is what it is. So this we are talking about the life, not life of Brahma, it's 1 day of Brahma. So what happens and what do you talk about life of Brahma? Life of Brahma is equal to 311.04 trillion years. That is the total life in our terms. So 100 years of Brahma is equal to that, right? So that is the life of Brahma. So you can imagine how it works, right? The mathematics of Brahma, it's so long. So for people who love the maths, so I've done this part of it. Where are we? So before where we are, so remember I was talking about the various Manus and all that. So where are we, right? We are like, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th Manu is where we are, right? So what is the name of this Manu? Do you remember? We just read in the first 2 shlokas we read about this. What is the name of the Manu? Okay, hold this, I'm going to tell. But before that, the first Manu is called the Swayambhu Manu, right? So we will see all of it shortly during the day. So as of now, what has happened in our current situation? So what happens is Brahma has completed 50 years. Right? So Brahma has completed 50 years means we already read, 4.32 lakh, like 4.32 thousand, right? We already read into 10 into, so you get this calculation. So basically, just to give you a rough number, easier way of doing is, we already read Brahma's entire 100 years is 311, right? So 50 years is approximately half of it. So divide by 2 will be 155, right? That's an approximate calculation. I already explained to you 6 Manus are over. We are at the 7th Manu. So this is the calculation of that. And 27 cycles of 4 yugas have gone. So totally how many cycles are there? 71, right? Divya yugas. So now 27 cycles are completed. So you know what it is. Satya, Dwarpa and Satya, Treta and Dwarpa, right? So this is the number, so which has gone, and that is the calculation. So what has happened in Kali Yuga? How many years have lapsed? Remember, I told approximately 5,000 years have lapsed in Kali Yuga. So that is where we are coming. So exact number is 5117 years. I just thought I'll give you an approximation. So what is the life of Brahma? We just took this, right? So this particular years plus that point here, whatever is, we have arrived. Right? So this is a trillion years which has gone. So now this continues, right? We already saw a recap of the 27 cycles, which is there, 3 years, which gave that figure, and this which has passed. So what does it mean, right? The life of Manu we are calculating, right? So what life Manu has crossed? So life of Manu is right there on the top, 166, plus you add this and the, that 5117, you actually zero it down into a million number. So what has happened, accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, right? So because he himself told, before Manu was born, Gita was spoken. So approximately this comes to what? This number comes to 120 million years, right? So it means that Bhagavad Gita was spoken 1.120 million years ago to Vivaswan. Who is Vivaswan? You remember the first line? We spoke about Vivaswan. Yeah, I love the answer, so many. Who's Vivaswan? Vivaswan is none but the sun god, right? So Vivaswan is the sun god, and initially spoke to Vivaswan. So that is what it is all about. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can someone go on mute? I think there's some music at the background. So Gita came to earth, right? So let's read a little more about it. In the beginning of Treta Yuga, millennium, this science of relationship with Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave this to Ikshvaku, the king of this earth planet. What is important, and that's why I wanted to bring in who Ikshvaku is. Ikshvaku is the first king of the earth planet, and he is the father of the Raghu dynasty. Now, who's Raghu? Raghu dynasty is where Lord Rama was born, right? So Bhagavad Gita existed in the human society, approximate time they are evaluating, right? Because we already told that Dwarpa Yuga was where Krishna was born, and rather came Avatar, and Treta Yuga is where Rama was there, right? So you are just doing the calculations. So how much of time would have elapsed here in Kali Yuga? So therefore, just to give a quick number game, which is easier to understand, 1 day of Brahma is this so many years in our calculation. So if Brahma lives for 100 years, so you can calculate how this is all the same thing which we are working back. So clearly 1 second of Brahma is equal to 1 lakh years. Clear? So 1 second of Brahma is equal to 1 lakh years for us in our terms, in human term. How is it possible? Yes, it is possible. We all live, let's say, on approximately 100 years. What about the ant? How long does the ant live? The ant lives for a very short time, right? So it will probably live for a few days or a few seconds, we don't know. So the ant, for the ant, just relate, it's for him, our life, it will think, oh my God, ants are, life of ant, I'm not very sure, but I know a lot of these mosquitoes are all live for, for a week. So just imagine, for them, if they see our life 100 years in their terms, it will work out to do the same calculation. That is what we are doing. Though initially when we see this and when I saw this, I just felt, how could this be possible? It's meaningless. But when you try and relate this, this is what it is. So now how Arjuna appears. So for someone who had this doubt, right, Krishna is an avatar, this is going to answer, right? So before I start this, on the right, you can see the picture. This is, please type while we are reading this. The chat is open. You're going to tell me who are those two, right? The gentleman and the lady. Who are they is what you're going to type. Hare Krishna. Ajo api san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim sham adishtaya sambhavam yatma mayaya. Hare Krishna.
Although I am unborn and my
Transcendental.
transcendental, okay, body never deteriorates, and although I am the lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental.
So meanwhile, let me see in chat what Devaki and Vasudeva. I didn't expect this answer. I thought you all will fumble. Thank you so much, and thanks Neetu, thanks Anushri for this. Hare Krishna. So yes, so the two of them are, thanks Kunal. So this is Devaki and Vasudeva. So what is happening, right? Krishna is appearing, and when Krishna is appearing, he is actually not appearing in the form of Krishna. Narayana, the four-handed form, right? How he is in Vaikuntha is the one who is actually appearing. So immediately what happened is, Devaki is praying, telling that, please come in the two-handed form. Just imagine, we are all used to two-handed form. And if you come in a four-handed form, oh my God, it's very difficult, hard to accept, right? It's very devastating and we can't take this forward. So immediately he's saying, no, please come in the two-handed form. So what she does, okay. And Krishna, now is descending as it is. This is what it is said. I am unborn. So he's not born. And my transcendental body never deteriorates. It never goes down. Although I am the Lord of all, right? So he's always, though he's Lord, I still appear every millennium. Every time he comes, millennium after millennium, right? Yuga after yuga, in his original transcendental form, which means there is this four-handed form, Narayana also there. There is two-handed form, which is also original. So this is what it is, right? So for us, it is unbelievable, because if we are in one place, we can't be another place, right? For example, I am here and Kunal is also right here. There is no way Kunal will be in college. Of course, now you will tell, Mataji, I'm doing both. One laptop, I'm listening to Bhagavad Gita. One laptop, virtually I'm on. Possible, but physically, it is not possible. So since it is an equipment you're doing, and definitely mentally not possible, because very difficult to concentrate one. So the scope of concentrating another is absolutely ruled out, right? So we will see how this is. So that is what he is talking about. So his original transcendental form appears all through. Right? So when does Krishna appear? So this is what it is about. Right? When does he appear? He explained. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shajamyaham. Hare Krishna.
Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself.
So very clearly he is telling that whenever there is a decline in religious practices, what do you mean by religion? Religion here does not refer to Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Jain, whatever, right? Religion here talks about dharma, right? So whenever there is a dharma, he is telling, oh, descendant of Bharata. Why is he calling? Because Arjuna is a descendant of Bharata, which we already saw, right? Therefore, he is telling that he will come. He will personally come to deliver. What is he going to do? He will tell in the next, shloka. Now the picture here, can someone spot what picture this is on the right? Can someone spot the picture on the right? Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you. Yes, it is also Devaki and Vasudeva. So what is happening is actually when Krishna's, when they got married and there was an Asuriri, which you all know, told that Kamsa will be killed by the son, immediately, they can't. So he is trying to kill his own sister Devaki. And even though he liked, and he was actually rescuing, because it's a ritual, right? The brother goes along, the newly married couple. So he was a charioteer for them. Even though he did that, imagine, look at his craze for his life. He immediately takes the sword to behead her and the husband, father of Krishna, Vasudeva, is literally falling on the leg of this person Kamsa to save his wife. So that is what he is telling, with the point that he will swap, that any child born he will give it to him. So that is what he's talking about. Now we saw when he will appear, right, Krishna? So let's see why he will appear. Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha dushkritam sadharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. We will be very familiar with these two slokas, right? Because every time from TV background music. That's why I'm giving you the same med. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. In order to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants as well as the establish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium.
Right? So he is saying that in order to deliver the pious. So we were thinking he is coming to kill these bad people. And if he has to kill the bad people, he need not come. He can throw his Sudarshan Chakra, Patal, and the Sudarshan Chakra is immediately going to behead the person, right? He need not come here. For example, let's take the story of Prahlad Maharaj and our Hiranyakashipu, right? So what is the story of Hiranyakashipu? Hiranyakashipu he wanted to kill, but should he come here to kill him? Should he take the Narsimha avatar? And by the way, from the Satya Yuga is Narsimha, right? So what is the need for all this? It is because he wanted to actually deliver the pious. So he actually came not for Hiranyakashipu, but he came for Prahlad. So that is a story. That is a speciality. What is the benefit of knowing Krishna? Why should I know Krishna? So let's hear what Krishna is saying. Hare Krishna. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tattva deham punarjanma naiti mamyeti sorjuna.
One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna.
Okay, so very clearly he's telling, oh, anybody who knows this about my body, right, he does not take birth again and again, but he attains the spiritual, my eternal abode. See, everybody keeps asking, is there a line in Bhagavad Gita talking about world outside the earth? So forget about Swargaloka and all at the moment, but he is very clearly telling that anyone who knows this, right, will take his birth in the, he will not do, right? It's not going to happen, but he's going to attain my eternal abode. That means there is an abode, right? There is a dham, there is a place. Krishna is telling in the 4th chapter to Arjuna, and not only telling, but he's giving that guarantee. Can anyone give that guarantee? We have every time, we used to tell, right? And our parents would have told us, don't worry, you go to school. I am there. I will take care. There'll be no problem. But are they really there? I mean, they are there for us. They care about us. I'm not telling that. But are they physically there? Emotional support is there, but are they actually there? Yes or no? Right? No, right? So actually, but they are not lying. They just want to be there and they're giving us the confidence. But here Krishna is actually there. He is actually there. He is the only person who's there with us 24/7, 365 days. Actually, even when we forget him, even when we are sleeping, he is with us, right? So let's see the difference between Krishna and us. So Krishna's form is spiritual and our form is temporary, right? So which means that his body is always there. He is having the same form there and he will maintain this permanent form. Whereas we are temporary and we are just having this form. And what are we comprised of, right? We have the body which we are seeing. What you see, this is the physical body, right? This is also called the gross body. We also know the soul. These two we have already learned in 2nd chapter. We've understood I'm not the body, I'm the soul. So we have a lot of knowledge on that. So what is this new concept which is there in that small little picture called the subtle body? So what is subtle body? Subtle body is nothing but your false ego, right? Intelligence and mind. So mind, false ego and intelligence. Hare, where is this coming? If I die, the mind, everything, false ego, intelligence, everything should die with me, right? Ideally, when we die, if it all dies, all three, then our soul will go to the eternal abode. But unfortunately, these three are holding us so much, which is why our wish of coming back to the world to satisfy our desires comes back in a vicious pool. That is why we are born life after life, and we are here on the earth, right? So we are controlled by Maya, and Krishna is controlled by Maya. So what is the thing? There are three modes, and we will read about the modes shortly. So like the puppet show, we are being controlled by them, right? And what happens? Who is the controller of that Maya? Maya is Maya Devi, right? So Maya Devi is who is Shakti, is external energy. They are reports to Krishna. I know it's getting a little heavy, but knowledge is always heavy, right? When we read physics, chemistry, biology, isn't it heavy? It's not like our, moral science or English, right? So here he is talking about transcendental knowledge. So obviously the knowledge will be very heavy. So can you see whose picture it is? This one is Krishna. That you all don't have to tell me. All of us know. And who is this uncle who's on the floor? So you all keep guessing while I move to the next slide. Hare Krishna. Has anybody in history able to know Krishna? So has anybody in history able to know Krishna? You have to tell who can know, right? And so before, thank you so much. Yeah, that is Kamsa. Now moving to the next question here. Can you see a guy with a sword, right? Who is this character here? Who's this particular character who has got a sword in his hand and a shield? Can anyone guess? Meanwhile, let me read the shlokas. Hare Krishna. Eya tamam prapadyante tamsteva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushyam partha sarvashah. Hare Krishna. Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritah bahavo jnana tapasa bhutamadbhava agatah. Right? So what is he saying? So Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, you know how everything reverse will do. Krodha is anger, Bhaya is fear, Vita Raga, desire, we already saw all that, lust, all that is coming up. Now in this picture, I'm just waiting for the names to come up. So much silence. Any guesses? There's no correct or wrong answer. So even my admins, co-admins, co-hosts, who is this man? I can give you one clue. Sudarshan Chakra is coming from Krishna and chopping his neck, fatal. So who is he?
Shishupal, Radhika.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Akima, and thank you so much, Jyoti. Hare Krishna. He is Shishupal. Thanks, Tanya. So Shishupal is the cousin of Krishna. Now we are bringing the character of envy. We read yesterday about envy, right? So what is envy? Remember yesterday we did what is envy? So yeah, that's right. So envy is the quality where I like something in you, but I don't like you having it, right? So Shishupal loved everything in Krishna. And that's a fact, not only for Shishupal, for all of us. And what is happening is he didn't like him. So every time he used to keep insulting Krishna. Now, what was the condition? Since his mom is actually the sister of his mom, so basically actually he is a relative, right? He's his cousin. So so Shishupal's mother, when Shishupal was born, he was born with 4 hands, right? So what they told is anyone who carries Shishupal, that person immediately, Shishupal, there'll be one person. Immediately he will get 2 hands, right? And that person will be the person who will be a reason for his death. He will kill him. So the mother gets very scared, and when Krishna carried him, Shishupal immediately from 4 hands moved to 2 hands. And therefore Krishna had to promise his mother, Shishupal's mother, that at one time he can make 100 mistakes. So Shishupal used to appoint a person or secretary, whatever you call, to count the mistakes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 every time. And he used to stop at 97 or something like that each and every time. So this was not a one-time incident, right? And it's like the last moment things which we tend to do, right? Studies, right? Last moment we'll fall. Same with Shishupal also, actually not a right comparison. He's a horrible person. So he did this. So what happened is now with the count going there in the Raja Yagna, right? There is this Yagna going on. When Yudhishthira first time has been crowned, he gives respect to Krishna and they do a huge yagna. At that time, he creates a scene and makes this 100 mistakes, and he insults so much. He insults Krishna, tolerates, and the 100th time he kills him straight away. So therefore, he is done. He's over, and he merges. So this is what is the story of Shishupal, and this is a story. And why? Because of that jealous envy, what happens? Everything comes into him. Can you see? So in Shashupal's case, it is envy. In Kamsa's case, it is actually fear of his life. So there are two different aspects which rule them. So now, do you, both of them have thought of Krishna more than anybody, both Kamsa and Shishupal, right? Hare Krishna. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam saiva bhajamyaham. Right? So what does it mean? All of them, as they surrender on to me, I reward accordingly. Right? So what he is telling is, Krishna rewards them according to the level of surrender. To the extent someone surrenders is what he is being given. Hare Krishna, you can read this.
Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me.
Very clearly he is saying that being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, right? So once you get freed, we already saw that what happens is, and who takes many persons in the past will become purified because of knowledge, right? So that is what he's trying to tell. So all this you'll get freed. So many hankerings we'll have, all that will be freed, right? This is actual freedom. So all those who take in me, right, he'll get purified and they will attain the love of me. So Krishna is telling. So how will he reward them? To the extent you surrender, which is a fact for us also, right? So what he's telling, extent to which you surrender. Can you see this picture where Balram is catching Krishna's leg? But there is also another picture there where Krishna is catching Balram's leg. So it is not one way. That is a beautiful relationship of Krishna where, you know, there is, even when you take Radharani, most of the time you'll notice that in all, not only movies and also in this, you know, in all the spiritual stories, you will hear the lady serving the meal, right? Whereas here, if you see in Krishna, you will see Krishna also doing the same. He will also take Radharani's dress and keep. He will also plait her hair. He will also feed her. So sweet, right? So that's a beautiful relationship of him. And not only that, even the cow, you see, the calf is actually, you know, at the feet of Krishna, and Krishna is showing so much of love back. So anything you do for Krishna, Krishna doesn't keep that. He will do multiple times. Even if it is a donation of 5 rupees, he does multiple times. So anything you do for him, right? So even food when you give, and I have one sweet lover here, right? Hare Krishna. So you give, you will know you will get to have more opportunities for sweets. This I have personally experienced, right? And trust me, you will start seeing. So don't try for that, but then eventually get that. Hare Krishna.
Man in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, man get results from fruitive work in this world.
So there is no answer without a question. The question is not here, but what happens is Arjuna is asking, oh wow, okay, so anyone who surrenders to you, you're going to reward them. Great, Krishna. Then tell me why people go to Devatas. See, you're anyway going to reward, then why do people go, right? This is a confusion. If Krishna is going to do everything, and then why? So he's telling men in this world, they want, you know, success, right? So we need money, we need everything, right? We need results. So what he's telling, they go to demigod because demigods will give quick results. Example, Kamsa, right? Kamsa went to whom? Kamsa went and prayed. Yeah, Ravana. Kamsa went and prayed whom? You have to tell me, what about Kamsa? If you don't know Kamsa, then Ravana, I will tell you. Ravana came and prayed whom? All of you know, Shiva. And Brahma, who paid Brahma? Yeah, that's right, Hiranyakashipu. So these two were quickly praying. Why? Because they wanted quick results. What power? With that, what they did, they misused, right? So all this was happening. Whereas, let's introduce a character of Dhruva, and I will tell you the story sometime tomorrow. But a character like Dhruva prayed Krishna, and what happened to him? He got what he wanted and more. You know, you have the star called the Dhruva Nakshatra. And remind me tomorrow, I'm going to tell you the story of Dhruva. And what was the specialty of him? He got what he did, but then he gets purified. So that is the point. So Krishna is like our parents, right? They don't, like, sometimes we are so much impressed with our uncles and neighbors because they'll give us whatever it is there. Even when we have throat pain and fever, they'll give us ice cream, and also we love them, right? Yes or no? I always used to love my uncles more because they used to do so many things. But my dad had so much restriction. He will clearly tell, and he was a doctor. So since he's a doctor, he used to tell, don't take from platform, don't eat. And I have loved that. I would love, you know, if you could sneak and buy something from the platform. I would love something, you know, if I could, take from the small shop. Have you all felt anytime that? and restricted, don't do this kind of a feeling. And one day when you go with your uncle or your neighbors for dad gives you something brought from that roadside, that bhaji bonda, whatever you call it, those tiny chocolates, that orange mithai and all that. Okay, so all that used to be my all-time favorite. So what happens eventually is our parents restrict us, but they actually are concerned. So they take care of the other things. You have fever, don't eat this, don't eat. But unfortunately or unfortunately, we don't like these restrictions. And we are always envying the quick results. Right now I want, doesn't matter, fever was yesterday, not today I'll eat. Right? So that is what is talking about this particular shloka. And so those people run to demigods. Hare Krishna. So let's this. Chatur vyarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarva vibhagashaha tasya kartaram api mam vidyat kartaram avyayam. Hare Krishna.
According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet non-doer, being unchangeable.
Okay, so very clearly he's telling three modes. Now, what are the three modes? And I'm going to introduce this. There are three modes called: one, mode of goodness; second, the mode of passion; and third one is called the mode of ignorance. We are going to read in detail. For now, just understand the names. These three modes are constantly in us, right? Sometimes goodness will dominate, sometimes, passion will dominate, and sometimes ignorance will dominate. So the four divisions of human society, we read what's called the Varnashram, right? Varna are the jobs, tasks. What are they based on? It is not based on whether you're in the upper class or lower class or whether you're a Harijan, the way they are talking about. These are tasks given based on what you fit in, based on what you can do. Example, four divisions, right? You all will know: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and the Sudra. Why? Because a Brahmana will be very knowledgeable in Veda, but he won't be capable. Some of them are, but not by nature. He will be able to take a sword and fight, right? Whereas a Kshatriya is someone who wouldn't mind giving his life to save someone. So the qualities, you can't say one is greater than the other, but each of them had a unique USP which can be done by them. So based on their task, job, they were categorized. That is called Varna. And why is this shloka coming up? Because Arjuna doesn't leave. He will tell Krishna, 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 oh my God, if they go to demigod, then how will they come? So he is telling, don't worry, they can do the prescribed job given to them, their duties, and therefore they will automatically come. How? This is Brahmana, this is Kshatriya, Vaishya is the businessman, and Sudra are the ones whom we call as the, the blue collar people, where they report, they can't think of their own or do things. They do not have great knowledge, but they can do exactly what you tell them. So they are the Sudras. So that is what he is talking about, the four classification. There are some more classifications below this, but they are not spoken because you're supposed to fall in one of the four. So this is what he is talking about, the Varna. Ashrama, I will explain now shortly. But what he is telling is, if anyone follows this Varna Ashrama will actually automatically become, will get rescued by me, right? He says, even though I am in the as Paramatma, even though if I am there, I am not the doer. So many of them, will tell, now you're in Bhagavad Gita class, your friends will tell, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to drink, Krishna only made me do. Do you come across people who tell that? I've come across constantly people who do the wrong things, tell that as if I'm doing, I'm not studying, I'm watching TV, but Krishna only gave me this TV and this video game to do. Sometimes we also do that, right? So it's not the wrong thing, but the fact is always we have this nature that you want to give it to someone, not the credits, but the wrong thing, right? I got 100, I only got 100%, I'm not talking about you all. I used to also tell that, oh no, I only got this percentage, right? So in my 12th, I got around 98.5 aggregate, and I used to tell, I got it. As if, I'm the one who did the whole thing all by myself. That time, I never remembered my mom, I never remembered my dad, no one in my mind. Because the I factor of me achieving was the only thing which was there. Right? Happens, right? And I don't say it is wrong, but it is what we are, right? So, but whereas if something goes wrong, oh my God, correctly, I would have got that 1 mark extra, but at that last line, I would have got that 1 minute, the teacher pulled off the paper. Had I been given that 1 minute, I would have scored that 100 mark. Because the teacher pulled off the paper, I failed. Happens, right? Yes or no? Have you heard this? Have you experienced this? Does it sound like school? Are you all angry with me? Nobody is replying in the chat. Except Mihir, who's put us a smiley face. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I'm just talking about reflections in my life. I assume that we will all be mirroring. Okay. So let's see what he's saying. Hare Krishna. Namam karmani lippanti name karma palesh praha iti mam yo abhijanati karma birna sadbhadyate. Hare Krishna.
There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me always also does not become entangled in the fruitive reaction of work.
So very clearly he is telling that there is no work that affects me. There is nothing on this earth that is going to affect me. And, I am no way affected by the fruits, right? Automatically. So whoever understands this, for example, so can you guess who's this picture? First picture? Can anyone guess who is in the first picture? That was a tough one, but I didn't know that you all will guess. Thank you so much. Yes, you're absolutely right, Sudama. Thanks, Sachin. And Anushri. Yeah, perfect. Because that was a tough call. So he literally washes his leg and he pampers him so much, right? Because he doesn't expect any fruit. He just does. Because he is not governed by these modes which are playing the role, right? So he very clearly does all this, right, on his own. So why is this introduced? Because that is what when Arjuna asked, right? I don't want to do why I'm doing this, because they are all controlled by the modes of nature. So even if you don't like something, you land doing that, right? And here is the next beautiful picture, and you all know this Bhishma. He promises that he will not take the Sudarshan Chakra, or he will not take any weapon, but he immediately takes a weapon and he wants to kill Bhishma, because he wanted to save Arjuna. He is so crazy that he cannot tolerate anything happening to his devotee, even at his cost of his own name and fame. He's just not worried, right? Even though he promised, he doesn't care for his promise, but he is more concerned about his devotee. That is his protection he's offering to his, team, his devotees. That is how he reciprocates, right? Look what level he's bringing himself down. He's the charioteer. He is driving the chariot. And being a charioteer is not just like our driver. So we'll tell, no, I will drive your car. No. Those days they can't hear. The noise used to be so loud. So they used to wear pointed shoe. You know why? Because with the pointed shoe, that was the only way when the driver is there, right, who's driving, the person in the chariot used to actually, put the leg on them, telling that, if it's on the right, they'll put it on the right, and left means. So literally the person, they won't kick the person, of course, not the thing, but that's how they used to tell the direction, because we never had these headphones, right? And they can't be shouting, hey, Krishna, right? Doesn't work. So immediately, this is how they used to be. So the job of a charioteer is not as simple as we think, right? So that was the kind of role which Krishna had taken. So when you know inside, you will get to understand. So what are their modes, right? So let's move on this. Hare Krishna. Karma no happy bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanasya bodhavyam gahana karma no gatihi. Hare Krishna.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
So very clearly, we have understood what action. Action is only karma. What you do is action. So that is what we read yesterday. What is forbidden action? Yesterday I told what you should not do, right? Vikarma, I explained this yesterday also in detail. What you should not do. You can't be sleeping for 14 hours. One day it's fine, but every day, all right? So then you will get a suitable body, right? Based on what you desire. So typically that is called forbidden action. So someone asked me, what is sin? A sin means forbidden action. And what is forbidden action? Anything not mentioned in the Vedas, anything which is not a karma comes under that. And what is inaction? Inaction can be properly understood as not acting. That is also a nice way of inaction only, like how Arjuna is telling, I will not do anything. I will not get papam or punya. Because if you do a pious activity, you go to Swargalok. If you do a forbidden action, which is vikarma, you will go to Narakalok, the hell. So what is it which will break us from, because irrespective of both, you will come back into the cycle of birth and death, right? That is, you will be born as an animal, but still you are in this world. You will come back, even if you are born as a demigod, you will still have death. You've seen Brahma also has death. Therefore, what is it you should do? Is you have to go into inaction, which means not that it is inertia. It's not about not doing anything. It's about what? It is about what you should actually follow. So this is what is going to answer your question. A devotee was asking, right? What is Vikarma? Vikarma, don't follow Vedas. Risk of being degraded to lower species, not appreciated by saintly people. They defeat the purpose of life, right? They follow the Vedas, the poets, right? So these are the things which are taken care. And what is the thing Jnanis do? Right? We talk about Vikarmis, we talk about Karmis, and who are Jnanis? They are coming into the platform of knowledge. Right? So we will get more into this term. Akarma, who's Akarmi? We are confused with this new term Akarmis, right? Akarmis are those who do not come under the cycle of birth and death, and their example is Narada, right? Narada is someone who is constantly outside the reach of this. Yeah, so this one we already saw about Chaturvidya. So let's go to this one. So what is the last division which we are talking about? Hare Krishna. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshena. 1 second. Upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinah. Hare Krishna.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from his submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth.
So very clearly is telling that you can, you should learn the truth from your spiritual master, Sevaya. So you should humbly, submissively render service to him, right? Why is he telling this? Arjuna is telling, oh my God, it's so complicated. You've told me. What about others? How will they know about all this? So he's telling that you can do it. You saw in 3rd chapter, right? We also read that Acharati Shreshas, right? The great people are role models for leading to followers. So clearly you see Krishna and Balram also going to Gurukul school, and they don't need to do because they are already full of knowledge, but they are going so that they will learn from whom? Their spiritual master. He is this Muni, and you're going to type the name of the Muni of Krishna. Yes, that is right. Hare Krishna. So you're going to let me know who is the name. Oh, so nice. So anybody else who know? It is Sandipani Muni, right? So Sandipani is the guru of Krishna and Balram, and they went and quickly learned everything in 1 week's time. In fact, they don't even need 1 week, but they wanted to be close to some reality. So that is what it is saying. So what is he telling? Spiritual succession. That means you have to learn from the master. And you asked me what should be the mood? You have to be humbly doing it. So topics, what are the things we learned today? We learned about transcendental knowledge about Krishna, 4.1 to 10. Krishna as the goal of all paths and the creator of Varnashra system. Then what is that we did? And Karma Yoga, right? That is how we can do duty and put the fruits or hand over the fruits to Krishna. And then all these sacrifices leads to what? Transcendental knowledge. And where do we get this knowledge from? How do I learn all this? We will learn this from Krishna, right? So this brings us to the to the beginning of our transcendental knowledge journey. And we have learned so much today, right? Did we learn? Now let's keep the chat open. You can keep typing your questions, and I will end this session, and please be on for the bridge, and that will be a short bridge today. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,